Manny had always thought of himself as the undisputed ice cream king of the neighborhood. For years, his jingling melody had drifted lazily through the suburban air, heralding the arrival of his mint and chocolate-scented kingdom on wheels. Children came running from all corners, clutching their allowance and squealing with delight at the prospect of sweet, icy bliss. Parents nodded in approval, relieved that the neighborhood's biggest summertime dilemma was merely choosing between a vanilla sundae with rainbow sprinkles and a chocolate cone drizzled with hot fudge. Life was sweet until a second truck roared into town with a tune twice as catchy and flamboyantly loud. The newcomer was Pepper, a flamboyant entrepreneur in neon sneakers and a perpetual grin. Pepper's truck, a swirl of reds and yellows, was decorated with a giant dancing ice cream cone on top that beamed its presence to all within a mile radius. Speakers on each side pumped out an electronically remixed jingle that was so peppy, children would break into impromptu dances on their front lawns. By the time Manny realized what was happening, Pepper had already sold half a dozen sundaes on what Manny considered his turf. Manny was incensed. He watched from the window of his own pastel blue truck, painted with sturdy letters that read Melody Freeze. It had once stood out for its charm, but now it looked positively understated next to the neon spectacle Pepper had unleashed. One sunny afternoon, Manny drove over to Pepper's truck, parked at the corner of Chestnut Avenue, to investigate its sudden success. Pepper was handing out cups of bubblegum-flavored sorbet to giggling kids and parents wearing exhausted smiles. Sales were brisk. Manny squinted at the menacing swirl of color. No wonder the youth of the neighborhood were entranced. The truck made Manny's own little jingle sound like a 1950s calliope, feebly puffing along. "Afternoon," Manny said, leaning out of the window. He tried to keep his voice pleasant, but there was a definite note of challenge lurking beneath his greeting. Pepper, unbothered, grinned back. "Oh hey, you're Manny, right? I've heard great things about your cone game. Happy to finally meet the local legend." Manny bristled. Being called a local legend felt suspiciously like being politely told to move aside for the new star. "Likewise," Manny responded, forcing a neighborly smile. "Welcome to the neighborhood." Pepper bowed with theatrical flair. "Well, thanks for letting me share your turf for a bit. I think we'll get along great. The more scoops, the merrier, right?" Manny didn't believe that for a second, but he merely nodded, his jaw set. As he drove away, he glanced in the side mirror. Pepper was back to schmoozing with the line of customers, sprinkling candy bits on waffle cones as if distributing confetti at a parade. That evening, Manny lined his kitchen table with flyers he'd designed over the winter. Advertisements for a season kickoff special he'd planned. He'd intended to have the entire neighborhood adore him and only him for the next 6 months. Now, Pepper threatened to upset that plan with a sugar tornado. Manny realized he needed something bigger, bolder, and more outrageous than the usual buy one, get one free coupon. After a restless night, Manny decided to hold an ice cream block party on Sundae Street, the main drag known for its row of shops and restaurants. With city permission, he'd set up tables, music, and a sprinkling station for all ages. He taped flyers at every cafe, barber shop, and grocery store. "Come one, come all," they read, promising live music and free samples. Manny grinned, satisfied that this was the perfect strategy to outshine any upstart with fancy neon paint. But Manny underestimated Pepper's ability to catch wind of any churning in the local ice cream realm. Pepper responded with an event of his own, right next to Manny's block party. If Manny's was an evening social, Pepper's was a carnival on wheels. He called it Flavor Fun Fair, hijacking a nearby parking lot where he set up giant inflatables shaped like waffle cones, a station that let kids design their own sundaes, and bizarre yet faintly intriguing new flavors like lavender honey twist. There was even a bubble machine that spat out shiny orbs smelling faintly of cotton candy. The day of the block party arrived and Manny's own display looked picturesque. He had hung streamers in pastel blues and yellows, and a local band strummed cheerful tunes. Manny's biggest fan, Mrs. Wilkerson from down the street, was already perched at a table, devouring a banana split and praising Manny's artistry to anyone who came near. But her presence wasn't enough to overshadow the spectacle unfolding a few storefronts away. Pepper's carnival exhibit shimmered like a Technicolor dream. Inflatable waffle cones towered overhead, and the entire area vibrated with laughter, neon lights, and the pounding bass of Pepper's sweetly remixed jingle. Groups of families ventured from Manny's tables to Pepper's extravaganza, starstruck by the swirling spectacle. Manny tried hard to remain composed. "We can keep it classy," he told himself, serving up gorgeously swirled cones and sundaes with neat lines of chocolate sauce. He rallied the local band to play a lively tune, hoping to lure back some foot traffic. But the moment there was a lull in the music, Pepper's booming jingle snatched everyone's attention. With adrenaline coursing through him, Manny decided to ramp up his own show. He plugged in the portable karaoke machine he'd rented for a sing-along. He hopped out of the truck, beckoned the crowd, and belted out a corny but undeniably catchy parody of an old doo-wop tune, retitled "Do the Ice Cream, Scooby-Doo." Kids and parents chuckled, singing along, and Manny's side of the block party recaptured a glimmer of limelight. Even Pepper, perched on the edge of his own truck, arms folded, smiling. But with a quick snap of his fingers, Pepper signaled for his confetti cannons to fire, raining tiny rainbow confetti all over the carnival. The crowd gasped in delight, once again drifting away from Manny like magnetized sprinkles to a flashy new tub. Frustrated, Manny shut off his karaoke machine. "This means war," he muttered, stomping into the driver's seat. Over the next week, both sides escalated the competition with a flair reminiscent of old spaghetti westerns, except with less cacti and more sprinkles. One morning, Manny equipped his truck with a huge rotating soft-serve cone on the roof. Larger, he noted, than Pepper's dancing cone. By midday, Pepper had replaced his top decoration with a giant disco ball shaped like a cherry on a waffle tower. It spun and glittered, sending polka dots of glimmer across every house on Maple Lane. When Manny started rolling through at sunrise to snatch the early morning crowd, Pepper introduced breakfast ice cream, a questionable concept that included cereal mix-ins and a drizzle of maple syrup on top. If Manny baked brownies to crumble over sundaes, Pepper added bacon bits to his, luring adventurous eaters. The neighborhood erupted into an unending debate over whether bacon had any rightful place in ice cream. Some declared Pepper a genius. Others vowed never to deviate from Manny's tried-and-true classics. The rivalry intensified to a point that one day, Manny turned on his jingle at the edge of the park and realized Pepper had exactly matched his route. Their two trucks crept along side by side, each blasting music. Children dashed between the trucks, uncertain which flap to knock on first. Parents stood back, openly gawking at the spectacle of grown adults fighting over who got to serve them ice cream. Pepper tried to give Manny a friendly wave, but Manny decided to pretend he didn't see it, turning up the volume of his jingle. Pepper retaliated by toggling a switch on his dashboard that caused the top of truck disco ball to light up in a multicolored strobe effect. Manny pressed a second switch, and his giant rotating cone started shooting tiny puffs of scented confetti. Pepper then blew an air horn, and Manny beeped his truck horn 3 times. To the amused onlookers, it appeared as if the two trucks were locked in a ludicrous parade of chaotic color, noise, and sugar mania. That evening, Manny paced around his living room. He loved his business. Serving ice cream was in his blood. His father had done it before him, and Manny took pride in giving people a taste of joy during hot summer days. But with Pepper in the picture, Manny felt overshadowed. He needed a final, decisive plan, a way to prove once and for all that he was and always would be the rightful champion of the local dessert scene. His eyes fell on a photograph. Manny, younger, standing in front of a small kiosk at the county fair, proudly holding a giant trophy for best new flavor. At that moment, Manny realized exactly what he needed. He would claim the legacy of inventing new flavors, something Pepper clearly excelled at now. If Manny could craft an unforgettable flavor for the ages, something so spectacular people would line up for days, Pepper's neon spectacle wouldn't stand a chance. Manny dusted off old family recipes and conjured up new ones in his head. He spent the next 3 days in a flurry, experimenting with every combination imaginable: pistachio lime swirl with candied almonds, raspberry crunch laced with honey fudge. He made notes, took frantic taste tests, then collapsed at night with his stomach so full of sugar that his dreams glowed in pastel colors. Finally, Manny struck gold. Toasted marshmallow candy crunch. Each bite had the nostalgic campfire taste of roasted marshmallows, balanced by a swirl of chocolate ribbons and brightened with crunchy bits of candy that popped like fireworks on the tongue. Manny's taste buds did a victory dance. This, he decided, was the ultimate creation to lure the crowds. He bought a huge banner reading, "Introducing the next big flavor, Toasted Marshmallow Candy Crunch, available only at Melody Free." With unbridled optimism, Manny rolled out bright and early the next day, the new flavor secure in his freezer. He parked on the busiest corner of Sundae Street, waiting confidently for the throngs to arrive. Pepper came squealing around the corner soon after, music blaring. Manny clenched his fists nervously. Did Pepper already know? Would he try to sabotage Manny's new creation? A hush fell over the children who had gathered, intrigued by Manny's announcement. Pepper leapt down from his truck's driver's seat with a big grin. He took out a microphone, because of course he did, and announced, "Folks, we have a brand new flavor for you all today. I call it Maple Toasted S'mores Crunch," he emphasized the last word. That's right, it's like having s'mores roasted in maple syrup over a campfire with some special magic mixed in. Only at Pepper's scoops of joy. Manny's jaw came unhinged, nearly dropping to the asphalt. "You're kidding me," he muttered under his breath. Maple Toasted S'mores Crunch? That was essentially a cousin of his own Toasted Marshmallow Candy Crunch. Suddenly, Manny's hard work felt like a mirror image, overshadowed by Pepper's signature flamboyance. Determined not to let Pepper's version overshadow him, Manny promptly hopped onto his serving window ledge and hollered, "Gather round, everyone! Today Melody Freeze is proud to present your new favorite treat, Toasted Marshmallow Candy Crunch." Kids and parents cheered on both sides. A few asked for samples at Manny's truck first, then dashed off to Pepper's for a side-by-side comparison. Whispered discussions roamed among them. Which is better, Manny's or Pepper's? Eager to gauge the crowd's reaction, Manny offered generous helpings. Pepper did the same. Enough sugar was consumed on that corner in one afternoon to power a small city's energy grid. But the public seemed split, and the mood became a sugary seesaw. Some liked Manny's crunch bits better, others found Pepper's maple flavor irresistible. Tension coated the air as the evening wore on. With both trucks parked only a few feet away, Manny and Pepper exchanged polite but icy glances. Neither admitted defeat, and both recognized that the final frontier would be Sundae Street's ultimate event, the annual Ice Cream Olympiad. Each summer, the Olympiad transformed the district into a festival celebrating all things frozen and delicious. The entire neighborhood, vendors, families, local dignitaries, gathered to judge the best ice cream truck in town. The categories included Best Flavor, Best Presentation, Most Innovative Topping, and Best Overall, crowned by a large glittering trophy. Manny had taken that trophy home 3 times, though never against competition this fierce. Predictably, Pepper was determined to claim it. On the morning of the Olympiad, Sundae Street was a blur of bunting and balloons, booths filled with swirling soft serve and cheerful folks in t-shirts. Emblazoned with Sundae, Manny meticulously polished Melody Freeze, checking that his giant rotating cone was gleaming. He'd even dressed in a freshly ironed uniform matching pastel blues. On the other side of the designated competition area, Pepper's truck radiated enough color to be seen from outer space, the disco ball cherry on top spinning in the sunlight. The panel of judges, an entourage of local celebrities and business owners, announced they would begin with the best flavor competition. Manny swallowed nervously, but maintained a confident smile. He presented Toasted Marshmallow Candy Crunch with a flourish, offering each judge a sample served in a small crystal dish. The judges nodded in approval, eyes lighting up at the first spoonful. Then it was Pepper's turn. Maple Toasted S'mores Crunch, served in cups topped with a flamboyant garnish of toasted mini marshmallows and shortbread flakes. The judges nibbled thoughtfully. Tension brewed as the panel convened, exchanging hushed words. Manny's heart pounded. He was sure he'd perfected the balance of sweet, crunchy, and creamy, but Pepper never failed to impress. After what felt like ages, the head judge, a local bakery owner with a practiced palate, stepped forward. The award for best flavor goes to Manny's Toasted Marshmallow Candy Crunch. The crowd applauded. Manny pumped his fist in triumph as Pepper clapped politely, though Manny noticed Pepper's grin had shrunk considerably. Manny tried to keep his elation contained, but after days of tension, he let slip a boastful laugh and gave Pepper a little wink. Pepper's eyes narrowed. Manny quickly pretended to scratch his eyebrow, hoping it would downplay the moment. Next category, most innovative topping. Pepper brought out a shrine of unusual toppings: candied jalapenos, edible confetti shaped like dinosaurs, sprinkles that popped, and a swirl of tangy whipped cream. He demonstrated how customers could add each element to create an explosive flavor burst. The crowd reacted in awe, marveling at the wild possibilities. Manny unveiled what he called magic candy dust, a shimmering powder that fizzed and sparkled when sprinkled on ice cream. He explained that it transformed the taste buds, making a single bite feel like 6 different flavors in quick succession: strawberry, then chocolate, then coconut, then butterscotch, and so on. Manny showed the process to the judges, who hesitantly took a spoonful, only to gasp in delight as the flavors danced around their palates. The audience collectively held its breath. Finally, the head judge returned with the verdict. The winner for most innovative topping: Manny's Magic Candy Dust. Another roar from the crowd. Manny nearly jumped for joy. He saw Pepper's eye twitch slightly. Pepper nodded with a cordial grin, but Manny could spot the frustration behind the facade. Sensing that Manny was on a roll, Pepper was doubtless waiting for the big prize, best overall hoping for a comeback. The next few categories saw them run neck and neck. Pepper's flashy disco ball won best presentation. Manny's vintage melody took the runner-up spot, but Manny graciously applauded, refusing to let Pepper's victory sour his day. With each passing moment, the competition felt more intense, like a sweet battle of wits, flavors, and aesthetics. In a friendly but tense show of camaraderie, Manny and Pepper shook hands for the cameras. Underneath that handshake, their grips hinted at the desire to outscoop each other all the way to the finish line. Finally, it was time for best overall. The judges disappeared into a nearby cafe to deliberate. The crowd waited, kids occasionally calling out predictions about who they thought would take it all. Manny fiddled anxiously with a box of plastic spoons. A hush fell over the street when the judges emerged. The head judge held the trophy, 2 golden ice cream scoops perched on a little stand. He cleared his throat. It is my pleasure to announce that this year's best overall winner, which encompasses flavor, presentation, community engagement, and creativity, goes to... A dramatic pause, a gasp from parents, kids gripping each other's arms in taut excitement. The judge continued, both Manny's Melody Freeze and Pepper's Scoops of Joy. It's a tie! A shocked hush swept across the entire block. Manny froze, unable to process what he'd just heard. Pepper blinked uncertainly, his grin beginning to widen when the realization set in. The crowd erupted in cheers. A tie was the last outcome anyone expected, but after the initial shock, the atmosphere became downright jubilant. Kids squealed, parents smiled, and the 2 opponents found themselves standing shoulder to shoulder, hands locked on the trophy at the same time. Manny looked at Pepper. Pepper looked at Manny. The victor looked at Pepper. Drop it. All the tension and competitiveness of the previous weeks seemed to hang in the air. Should Manny yank the trophy out of Pepper's hands and run? It sounded tempting, but that would look ridiculous. Also, the trophy was fairly large and quite heavy. Manny finally relaxed his grip. Pepper followed suit, and they set the trophy down on a nearby table. The head judge announced, "We encourage you both to share the trophy across the coming months, maybe even collaborate. Pepper in Manny's sure-handed classics, Manny and Pepper's adventurous creations. The town loves you both. There's plenty of space on Sundae Street for 2 extraordinary ice cream truck drivers." The crowd erupted with approval, clapping and cheering for the joint victors. Manny managed a small grin, his shoulders sagging in relief. He realized the judge was right. The squabble had grown so heated that Manny had forgotten the whole point of selling ice cream, bringing a bit of happiness to the neighborhood. Manny and Pepper shook hands firmly this time. "Congratulations," Manny said. "You really are good at this." Pepper chuckled. "So are you. I mean that. I've never faced a challenge like this. It's been fun, believe it or not." As the crowds dispersed and the street returned to its usual bustle, an organizer offered the pair a solution. "There's an empty lot at the end of the block," the organizer explained. "We've been wanting to turn it into a small community park. Maybe you two can partner on it and sell ice cream daily, host mini events, and keep the neighborhood smiling." Pepper raised an eyebrow at Manny. Manny thought for a moment. He glanced at his beloved truck with its giant rotating cone. Then at Pepper's truck, which was pulsing with disco lights. The memory of the last few weeks flooded back. From the flamboyant parades and silly sabotage to the quiet thrill of children tasting the latest flavors, he realized maybe that's what made the whole rivalry enjoyable, the tension and the spectacle. But at the end of the day, what made it truly worthwhile was the sense of wonder that ice cream brought to the community. "Let's do it," Manny said without hesitation. "We keep our trucks, serve up the best of both worlds, and give the neighborhood something to remember." In the weeks that followed, Manny and Pepper put the finishing touches on the new little park. They built a small wooden stage, strung up colorful lights, and added picnic tables. Manny planted some flower beds, while Pepper installed a bubble machine near a playground corner. The park buzzed with activity from morning to dusk. Children laughed, parents relaxed, and neighbors from all walks of life strolled in for a cone. Manny's toasted marshmallow candy crunch and Pepper's maple toasted s'mores were both permanent menu items, each equally adored by the local youth. As the sun set each evening, Manny would sometimes stand back and smile, watching the orange glow reflect off Pepper's disco ball, sending tiny sparkling lights dancing across the pavement. Pepper would wave from his side of the lot, busy handing out sundaes to a group of giggling teenagers. The two trucks hummed with sweet synergy, a testament to how competition, when turned into collaboration, could transform the neighborhood. While Manny had lost his all-consuming desire to be the sole ice cream king, he gained a friend, albeit a loud, neon shoe-wearing friend who still blasted jingles that made Manny's ears ring. But it turned out to be a small price to pay for days filled with laughter, music, and the universal delight of frozen treats. Nobody knew what the following summer would bring, but Manny had a hunch it would involve more wild flavors and harebrained events. Perhaps Manny and Pepper might even collaborate on a brand new creation, melding Manny's nostalgia with Pepper's boundary-pushing flair. The possibilities seemed sweeter than ever. One night, after a particularly busy day, Manny and Pepper both parked their trucks side by side under the glowing lampposts. Their small park was empty, except for a few stray balloons bobbing in the summer breeze. Manny offered Pepper a waffle cone with a swirl of half-toasted marshmallow candy crunch, half maple-toasted s'mores crunch. Pepper laughed and took it, handing Manny one of his own. As they sat on the tailgate of Manny's truck, quietly licking their cones, they found themselves relaxed in the hush of the evening. A gentle breeze rustled the newly planted flowers, sending a sweet scent across the lot. The bubble machine was off, the disco ball was dormant, and the truck's jingles were blessedly silent. Pepper raised his cone in a mock toast. "To the weirdest rivalry I've ever had, and to all the kids we're making smile." Manny nodded, returning the toast with his own cone. "Couldn't have said it better myself." They sat for a few more minutes, savoring the shared victory in the hush of a summer night. Beyond the park, Sunday streets sparkled with the lights of shops, restaurants, and houses first built decades ago. The two trucks had become a fixture here, echoing the spirit of a place that embraced color, creativity, and camaraderie. Their journey had been chaotic, comedic, and occasionally absurd, but it all ended with a clink of waffle cones and a sense of harmony. By the time they finished their ice cream, the stars twinkled overhead like sugar crystals on a midnight blue Sunday. Manny hopped down from the tailgate, patting the side of his truck with affection, and Pepper stretched his arms with a yawn. "Think we should pack it in for the night?" asked Manny. Pepper stared at the sky, hands on his hips, as though pondering a deep cosmic truth. "Yeah," he said softly, "I think we've done enough for one day." Soon they were each back behind their steering wheels. With a friendly wave, they drove off in opposite directions for the first time without a trace of animosity. And for once, their parting jingles blended in a pleasing harmony, as though each note was made to meet the other halfway. The battle for Sunday Street had melted away, leaving in its place a bond as sweet as the ice cream they both served.